It's me, Karen, your favorite booktuber, and it just so happens to be March 9th, 4:44 p.m. What's up, angel numbers? And I thought that I would put together a little impromptu, spur of the moment, International Booker long list prediction video, because in less than 48 hours, we will find out what the Booker dozen, which just so happens to be 13 books, we're gonna find out what the situation is. All I'm really going off of is my own whimsy and my interest in certain book covers and titles, and also the knowledge that apparently one of the judges said that they were looking for quirky books, whatever that may mean. First up on the docket, we have The Prophet and the Idiot. This is a story, I believe, of climate change with an element of humor. We're talking late summer Sweden, 2001. Next up, we have 1970, The Last Days. It is Egypt, 1959, and our author is imagining the life of a novelist under a dictator's regime and going through his final days. Before the Queen Falls Asleep, this is a story of a family, a young girl who was born into a family that wanted a boy, and just, I suppose, what she has to undergo in dealing with all of those different perspectives. Next up, we have Titterus. This is a story of a pastoral living life vibe situation. It just so happens to be that our protagonist is living in the countryside, and I suppose drawing the comparison that the natural landscape is something like the city. I don't know. I've heard that it's genre defying. Next up, we have Eunuch. This is a story of 12th century China. We have a poet who is in the Song Dynasty, and I don't know, I just think that's a element of historical fiction that would be fun to kind of dip our toes into. Next up, we have Shalash the Iraqi. I have seen this book in the bookstores multiple times, and I always pick it up and I always leaf through it. I believe, from what I remember, it's kind of a big book, and originally this was published as blog posts, anonymous blog posts, and it's about Iraq and the second US invasion. Next up, we have Fingerbone, which just so happens to be about 1942. The Imperial Japanese Army is in retreat, and our protagonist is working in a hospital and just seeing the chaos. Summer Fishing in Lapland. I think this is a story of a girl who is trying to save her beloved, but she only has like 3 days to do it, and there's kind of almost a fantasy element to it. There's genre-defying fusion of fantasy and nature writing. Next up, we have Sons and Daughters. This is the story of a family. We have the daughter who was in a car accident and is sitting in her hospital bed, unable to move her body, immobilized, and the mind is racing. And then we have another character who feels uncomfortable in their body, and then I believe the mother's perspective is also woven throughout this narrative. Next up, we have Kinderland. This is the story of a young girl who is basically left to her own devices because her parents have to work, and I think she has to step into the role of a caregiver to her younger siblings, possibly. Yeah. Then we have Out of Earth. Now, this book was also shortlisted for another prize, which has a very long title. Let me pull that up for you. Republic of Consciousness Prize for Small Presses. And this one, I think, is about Brazil, 2015. 4 generations of female characters as they navigate the hardships of life. Next up, we have My Heavenly Favorite. This is a book that really intrigues me. I would have to say that the US cover is a lot better than the UK cover, but what can you do? It's a story of a veterinarian who just so happens to become obsessed with the farmer's daughter. I think that some of my friends have read this and something weird happens with an otter, but I might be thinking of another book. And then my final pick is About Uncle, which is the story of a family outskirts of France. It just so happens to be that the protagonist gets a little obsessed, I don't know, with what her uncle is up to, and she's like tracking all of his movements. And I don't know if this is necessarily a COVID novel, but I think that this is something about a very isolated environment. Okay, those are my 13 books. I hope, God willing, that all 13 books are within the International Booker rules. If they're not, I know Owen will come through and correct me. And yeah, I'm excited. Happy Booker season, everyone. If you have any predictions, if you agree, disagree, whatever it may be, any wild cards, let me know in the comments. I would love to hear your picks. And in 2 more days, we'll know our fate.